H.E with Honorable Kadri, video 5.
One of the things that I always talk about while doing digital trainings, mental digital shift specifically, is evolution. That computer has gone from that filling a whole room to literally fitting on my hand. Like, it's so amazing to hear about change is constant, evolution is constant. Tech gets smaller, hardware gets smaller, but still is able to do. Because what was that? That was a processing unit.
Yeah, it was a huge processing unit, yes.
And that's why, in fact, when I say it was storing 5 MB, I'm not lying. It's probably, we'll see. Okay, so you are with your dad, you want to be a doctor at this time?
Yes.
That's what, again, exposure.
Yes, and so, yeah, so I because growing up there, looking at what he does, of course, if you hang out with doctors, you want to become a doctor.
Yes.
And
were you then studying in the line of becoming a doctor?
Well, you see, I was in high school. So,
yes.
Primary school, high school. One of the other things that also further fortified my intention to become a doctor is because I landed in hospital twice. I had my appendix removed, which I personally diagnosed myself when I was, I think I was 12 years old. When I diagnosed I have appendicitis, we need to now go. And
I removed my appendix after screaming on the floor. I didn't know.
Yeah, you see.
I didn't know what it was.
I knew. I diagnosed myself at 12. And the other one, which I was then, shortly after, I was also in hospital, I had meningitis.
Ooh.
And so I spent, not only watching hospitals, but then being a patient. And with meningitis, I was in hospital, I think about 2.5 months. And so I picked up enough paraphernalia, like the drips that are single use, and I was using them on my dolls. And I mean, it was, I was really clear.
You're headed, path is doctor.
Path is clear. And then when because we got chemistry in high school, and our chemistry teacher was straight out of university. Young guy, very handsome. And he hadn't yet grasped the need to actually be fair to all students.
Oh.
And so, while I was, math was my favorite subject, I was participating in math Olympiads, I was in physics Olympiads every now and then. When chemistry
Olympiads
came, meaning
competitions.
They are competitions, countrywide competitions or city competitions in these subjects. In chemistry, every now and then, let's say there are 6 problems to solve. The first 2 I get right. The second 2 I try, I get them wrong. The last 2 I don't do. And then the teacher says, well, Kadri, I had to give you a 4. Meaning that 5 is best, 4 is okay, 3 is bad-ish, 2 and 1 are, So getting a 4, when I've only done 30%, meant that I really did not need to study chemistry.
Ooh.
And so shortly thereafter, I realized that second year of chemistry in high school, I wasn't doing well. And shortly thereafter, I realized, but hold on, to become a doctor, I need chemistry that I now don't have.
Wow.
And so change of plans.
So why was he giving you a 4?
Because I was a nice girl.
What? So his higher grade of you made you relax and completely changed your trajectory?
Well, yes.
Because he wasn't giving you the grade you deserved.
Yes.
You needed a 2.
I needed a 2.
And that would have woken you up and been like, yo, I need to study.
Yeah.
Wow. I've never had this version of a story. I normally hear about people who are doing well and are not being given their grade.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And so I'm not becoming a doctor.
And you're finding this out as you're about to enter university?
No. I mean, I realized this. So while I'm in our high school, secondary school level, so it's years 10, 11, 12.
Yes.
And it's this same time is coinciding with Estonia starting to edge its way out of Soviet Union.
Aha. Independence, in an essence, is on the
So
way.
independence is on its way. We had something that was historic, which was the 3 Baltic states created what is called the Baltic chain. We stood from our capital, Tallinn, to all the way to down to Lithuania. We formed a human chain,
Holding hands.
Across the 3 states and saying we are standing together and we are out of Soviet Union.
Hold on. First and foremost, from a physical standpoint, do you mean you really held hands from one point to the other?
Completely.
No way.
Look up Baltic chain.
That's like holding hands from Mombasa to Nairobi.
Something like that.
Humans.
Yes.
Unbroken.
Okay.
This is a picture. Okay.
And so...
And the countries were
Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania.
Lithuania.
Yeah, so the 3 Baltic states.
Yes.
Because all of us were independent states before Second World War.
Yeah.
All of us were occupied by the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And all of us were saying, enough of this.
Okay, so who was... Actually, before we're coming to this human chain, who is fighting? Is the fighting... You know the way we have the Mau Mau in Kenya? What is that version of... How is that happening? Who is the one making noise? Because it sounds like if you citizens are making noise, you're being sent to Siberia.
These were young guys. These were university students. These were the very, very young thought leaders.
It's our Gen Z.
Yes, it's the
Mandamano Gen Zs.
The Mandamano Gen Zs. I remember the first time I saw the Estonian flag. And this is...
You're even tearing up.
I am tearing up because it was a big deal. You couldn't bring this thing out into public.
Let me first put the dog here. Our dog has some tissue. Sorry for...
It's okay. So...
It's a tears of joy, people.
Yes, and it's that thing of we have the right to this. And so the very first time, so I was still in high school when young university guys held a protest in a particular park right behind the university.
Wow.
And it was a cold winter day. And there were 2 brothers. They've went on later on to become outstanding people in Estonia, but that time they were in university. And I remember one of them who was about to speak, his hands were shaking as he's holding the paper from which he's about to speak. And it stayed in my memory because I asked, is he shaking because he's cold? Is he shaking because he's afraid? Because right there and that time they still did not have the courage to put the 3 Estonian flag colors, the blue, black and white, into a single flag. There were 3 flags, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 white. And that was such a huge statement. And so I was like, is he shaking because he's afraid somebody's going to come and grab him? Or is he shaking because of the greatness of this moment he's in? And so it was one of those first moments that those 3 flags were out. I was a high school kid watching this.
Wow.
And a couple of years back, I met that guy. His name is Indrek Tarand. And I asked him, do you remember that time back in the 80s when you stood there And he told me he does not remember that it was cold, but he remembers that he knew this was a big deal.
Wow.
And so
So you got your answer. You were shaking.
I got my answer some over 30 years later from him.
It was the greatness of the moment.
It was the greatness of the moment. And so...
And even I'm crying now. Wow.
And so one of the things that I did that same summer, because I knew how to knit, I knitted a cardigan onto the back of which I knitted the Estonian map with the flag colors blue, black and white.
Wow.
And so we all became brave to make that statement that we deserve to be free.
Wow.
And then we had the singing revolution, where nearly half of Estonian population gathered to our song festival ground to sing our songs of freedom.
Oh my God.
And, there was no reversal at that point.
That's Sarafina.
Yeah.
Music, toy. The South Africans have this thing called toy. I mean, this thing is mind-blowing, and thank you so much for sharing this. I wanted to find out what was bubbling under. I don't just want to believe that freedom came without a price. And what I'm hearing is that it took brave people, and it's always this younger demographic of people who believe in a better. But then now it then triggers the next people because to begin doing things, including you needed something.
And so, you see, it had been bubbling. It had been, because like I said, we always knew we were going to be independent. But the big change that happened that allowed this to start to bubble was the change of the Secretary General in Moscow. Because there had been many of the very hardline dictatorial Secretaries General. But then back to back came two leaders who started to understand that there is need for some form of freedom. So there was Andropov and there was Gorbachev.
Oh, man.
And the German wall fell.
Yes.
That was when basically the ice that had frozen around the Soviet states started to melt.
Oh.
And so it was almost inevitable. And so this is where Gorbachev started to bring in terms like glasnost and perestroika. They are Russian terms. Glasnost means transparency. And perestroika means rebuilding. And it's under these kind of changes that glasnost, transparency, meant that let's talk of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact that you guys signed.
Wow.
That had its secret clauses that assigned Estonia with its own independence to Soviet Union. Let's talk of that. Let's bring up those things of history, because that is glasnost. And so the moment you're able to speak openly, that can of worms, it's open.
Yes.
It's not closing.
Yes.
And so...
But they gave you the permission to speak freely.
Yes. Well,
I mean,
not entirely. No. It was not like entirely. And, this is where everything that was taking place was still, when the hand was shaking, you don't know why.
Yes.
Is it KGB coming? Is it cold? Is it the moment? Because all those three were very much options.
Yes. They're all valid options.
Yes.
But, this is so powerful. Woo. So, this thing is bubbling under, started by a change of the Secretary General. And just for clarity, is the Secretary General at this time the highest in the land?
Yeah, it's equivalent of president in
So,
the Soviet Union.
in the
but,
Soviet Union.
But the title was Secretary General.
So it's what Prime Minister, President, now, then it was Secretary General.
Yeah, Secretary General. Yeah.
Okay. So the Secretary General, a new Secretary General comes in, SG, who is more open to change.
Yes,
Or
who was younger, because that's the other part where, you see, in Russia, normally, the Secretary General never gets voted out. They die in office.
We're seeing it happening now. They get re-elected for 7-year term periods.
Yeah. Or 20 or 29
yes.
or 20, whatever it is.
It's like our brother. You know, I'm telling you, we are more similar than we are apart.
Because, I mean, if you look
Rwanda,
at Moi, or if you look at Moi.
Yes, oh yes. In fact, let me stop pointing outside.
Yeah.
Let me look inside.
Moi, how many years?
Yeah. 20-something, 24, 23?
Yeah. So we had the very same thing in Soviet Union.
Hey, Niaji Dada. We are sisters. We are siblings.
Completely. And you see that the way there were the Nyayo chambers,
Yes.
Estonia had similar chambers for those who spoke out. Because
Wow.
towards now, because you see, at some point, that deportation to Siberia was no longer done.
Yes.
But the political dissidents, we had the equivalent of the Nyayo chambers.
So when that guy, again, it brings the shaking, the fear element of it.
Yes.
He doesn't know where he's going to end up tonight.
No, he doesn't.
It could be dead. It could be...
Not dead. Never.
Dead wasn't there.
Dead wasn't.
But Chambers was there. Oh yes, dead was... You are labor.
Yeah, your labor. There's
I
no
forgot
need.
about the population. Decline.
Yeah.
So, okay, now let's go then into that, the wall.
Yeah, but then you see, but the reason I actually brought it in, let me just quickly jump back to my high school, because with that came also into some of our schools that option of, you know what, there are some subjects I don't care for.
Oh.
And so, number one, I dropped Russian language because I really did not care for Russian language.
Yes.
And number two, I realized that chemistry...
Chemistry was an atomy.
It was not adding for me right now because I'm no longer becoming a doctor. So now that I'm not becoming a doctor, I needed a plan B. And one of the subjects that was not taught at bachelor's level in Soviet Union was psychology. Because it was considered that having too much of an in-depth look into the human mind is not in line with Soviet thinking. And it's only if you need to be declared as a dissident, probably mentally insane, that now a psychologist or psychiatrist will detain you, that such skills were important. But now that Estonia was starting to separate from Soviet Union, psychology for the first time was available as a first degree.
Wow.
And so I thought I was going to study psychology. But one of the other things that happened was my aunt, who was the founder of the Family Research Laboratory, was having cooperation with Helsinki University already during Soviet time. Like my classmate whose father had been a professor at Helsinki University, and he came back to our school. And then that changed how we got a trip out of Soviet Union. So my aunt had that collaboration. My aunt's daughter, who was starting to build her own career, was also having some collaborations with Finland. And so when I'm
You call it Helsinki, as we call it
Helsinki.
Helsinki. Oh, okay.
And so early January, when I'm last year in high school, my cousin, the daughter to my aunt, calls me and says, Kadri, what do you think of coming to Helsinki for maybe a few months? And this is last year high school. And I told her, okay, let me think about it. And because, I think many would say, yeah, tomorrow I'm coming. Because, I mean, hey, that's across
Good
the border.
food.
That's across the border.
Yes.
That's the free world. But I said, no, hold on, let me think about it. So I gave it some thought, and I decided it's worth it because she talked of a particular professor in Helsinki University who was a professor of social psychology, a subject I hadn't even heard about. Because now I had already put my mind to psychology, but I
Yes.
said, hold on, social psychology. And so, so I went to, number one, I said, yeah, I'm coming. Just hold on. I need to go and have a conversation with my school principal. Mr. School Principal, here I'm writing a letter to you telling you that I'm going to be away for the next 3 months.
Whoa.
I will come back and do my exams, but in meantime, 3 months I'm away, chill. And because I, of course, could not simply leave the Soviet state because that was still Soviet Union. My aunt said, she is our research assistant and she is going to Finland to be part of our research team.
Wow.
I'm still in high school. But I had just turned 18. So that made me legal as an adult.
So it's 18 years old is now the legal age.
Yeah, 18 years, your legal age. And so that call was early January. My birthday is in December. I've just turned 18. I'm legal as an adult. And so I was, so to say, smuggled out of the country.
But you're coming back in 3 months.
Yeah, I'm coming back in 3 months to finish my
Exams.
high school exams,
Yeah.
yes. And so I went to Finland.
And what year is this?
So this is 1990.
1990. Oh, that's pivotal. Okay.
1990 or was it 91? I'm trying to remember. But anyway, it's before Estonia is independent.
Yes.
It's still Soviet Union time. And so, no, it had to be 1990. Yeah, it had to be 1990. And so I go off. I live in the family of this social psychology professor.
Wow.
I occasionally attend the school that her daughter is at. I get my first understanding of, because their child had cerebral palsy, and getting an understanding of what special needs care looks like in Finland. But I also do a research assistant project with her because she's doing a research into women in non-conventional jobs. Reflect back to Soviet women for whom there were no non-conventional
Yes.
jobs. And so she's doing this research with Ford factory in USA, Michigan, and a factory in Tallinn. And there was also something in Russia. And she goes, but Kadri, you can speak Russian, right? I'm like, oh gosh, I dropped the subject. I deliberately did not learn it. And here is like, well, if you can teach me some Russian, you'll earn some more money. I'm like, okay, sure, no problem. Polish up my Russian.
You said the magic word, money.
And here we are. And so I was supporting her in her research. I was catching up on some of my studies. I was dropping into her daughter's school every now and then. And 3 months later, I'm back in Estonia. And some of the things that happened was, math was my favorite subject. So I had to do a math exam. I loved math. I mean, I could do math any day. I did not need to think about it.
Hey, it's in the family.
Then second, I had to do an essay. And because in Finland, I got access to bookstores that did not just have Soviet-approved books.
Oh, man.
I landed onto literature like crazy. I was like, wow. And it's in English, because in Estonian, in Soviet Estonia, there were no fictional books
Wow.
in English except what we had in our school library, which were Soviet approved,
Yes.
and you had to use them to learn the English language.
Yeah.
And so I picked some books, and my literature and Estonian language exam, I wrote about books I have now read in the free world. And the teachers were like, oh my goodness.
We're in trouble. Who marks it? Is it marked by
The state.
the state?
Yeah, so it looks bad. Okay. And then, because I did not speak Finnish language when I went to Finland, so my 3 months, I'm only speaking English. It had never happened before, because in school, you only speak English in English lesson.
Yes.
After that, you don't.
Yes.
And so I come back and I speak better English than my English teachers, because they have never
Practiced.
lived in an environment where they don't speak any other language. So I remember I passed my initial, like there's like sort of the pre-exam tests. I was, my English language teacher was the one who was supposed to stand and watch over the canteen on a lunch break. And she said, okay, I'm there. Okay, just come and, let's see how you're doing. I stood there for 15 minutes. We spoke English only. And she said, it's okay, you've passed. And she was struggling.
Yeah.
And I had no issues. And so I passed my exams. But now I have that option of, I'll go to study in University of Helsinki, and I go to study social psychology.
Wow.
As opposed to psychology in Tartu University.
And is this, by the time you're going to Finland, independence?
No,
Not yet.
not yet.
Okay, let's take a 2-minute break. We're coming back. We continue from where you've gone to university.
Yes.
Yes, but
Now, no. In the beginning, I was not preaching at church, because we didn't have, the policy at that point did not allow women to preach in church. So all the preaching engagements we were doing at high schools. Because when the high school invites Nairobi Chapel, they didn't say it's a lady or a man.
Yes.
I remember during one of the retreats, Pastor Oscar sent us to, he asked us to take A4 paper and write a letter to God. Tell God, what is it that you want God to give you that will make you the most amazing leader and that will do great things for him? Write that down. I went for 3, I thought. I came back with one sentence. I wish I was a man.
What?
That almost broke everybody. But remember, I was in a space that was like a square in a round hole, trying to fit it.
Yes.
There were no women pastors. And now here I am. And now, my number one, change my desire. Now I am pumped up for ministry. I've forgotten. No, I forgot. I'm like, for sure, after my 1 year of internship, I knew this is it. But now, here I am. I can't preach in church. There are so many things women were restricted from doing. What am I doing here?
Like dress code?
No, dress code was never an issue at chapel.
At chapel?
Yeah.
But what couldn't you do?
Especially the central things
pulpit.
like preaching,
Yes.
yes, and all. So here, Pastor Muridi has come a year behind me. He's already preaching in church.
Wow.
Pastor Muridi being a guy, and we have always, even till today, very careful. You will not see like me in a car with another guy just. We always make sure there's a third person. However innocent it is. So in the beginning, Pastor Oscar would be having all this lunchtime. Muridi, let's go for lunch. They go hang out, they talk. He's beginning to have international travel. So he gets 2 tickets. Who is he going with? Muridi. Then now, Miam.
Oh.
So when I came back and I wrote that, he asked me, what does this mean? And I just said, if God knew he's calling me into Christian ministry, that is a male-dominated space, I wish I was a man. Then I would do great things for God. That's when Chapel began the study on women in ministry, to begin to find out what is our position, what is our policy going to be. And me and several women were involved in that with the elders. We read many books, and eventually Chapel came up with a position, women can preach. But at that point, we could not be elders.
Yeah. Pastor Janet, just let me pause you a bit. You know, there's a lot that we take for norm.
Yes.
There's a lot that we found. You know, the way you come and find a building in existence, and you don't know the toil and the labor that has been done by the people who came before you. For example, from a country perspective, we dharau the Mau Mau because we have freedoms. I walked into church and there were already women. By the time I gave my life to Christ and joined the church. You are following God's calling on your life, and you are already seeing the sexism or the, what's it called, the lack of equality within the institution. And yours was night and day. What had, and by the time you are advocating for it, and you're not even advocating for you're just saying.
I was just saying, I mean, was God confused when he called me? Because and it was never an issue of competition.
Yes.
If there's something I'm so grateful about, is start having my years of ministry in Nairobi Chapel. I will never come before God and say, God, if it wasn't those men, I would have done. No. Chapel allowed me and has allowed women to stand, to lead and find expression. Even when I sat in, not as an elder, but as a pastoral trainee, just sitting in elders' meetings, I knew in any place I'm called, I'm not called to balance gender. That has never been a Chapel thing. When you get a position, it's not because, oh, we need another woman, let's bring in Janet or something. No. I always knew, and Pastor Oscar always had this thing, if you're on this table, you better speak. Otherwise, you're just feeling a seat.
You earned a seat on the table.
Yes, just speak. And I've never, in all of my Nairobi Chapel days, apart from that beginning part when I said that, after that when...
were there other churches that had women preaching?
I don't really remember. And I've tried to ask Pastor Oscar that. But a lot now of things, these were mid-90s when things were changing, even in the music
Even there's
space.
a Beijing, remember 1992?
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that as a run.
There's a lot of things that were beginning to change then. And I knew women who were in ministry but not as pastors. There were, of course, a lot of pastors' wives always played the role of they're the heads of women's ministries, they're the heads of children's ministries, but they were not pastors. They were just Mama Kanisa,
yes,
the wife of the pastor. Naturally, this is your role, even though they may have another career outside.
Yeah.
So this began to change some things. In the mid-90s, there was a lot of change in churches here in Kenya. Even musicians.
The electric guitar.
Yes. Instruments and things,
Yes.
all that coming up. Concerts and things. Women now, ministers, those are shifting. That was happening in the mid-90s. So by the time I finished my internship, I knew God was calling me into this. Pastor Muridi and I were sent for a 3-month mission to Swaziland. There was an organization in Kenya that used to bring students from the US for a 4-month mission trip to Swaziland. And they had done this for 1-2 years, and then they thought, but we've never had an African join this group to actually tell us is it contextually sound, or are we imposing American things on a local African setting? So they came to chapel and asked Pastor Oscar, do you have some young people who could be part of this group? And then we really want them to speak, tell us what are we doing right, what are we not doing well. So both of us, Murray was just finishing his internship, me, I was in my pastoral traineeship. So we asked, can we go? I'd never been out of the country of that far, apart from
Uganda.
East African.
Uganda.
Yeah. So of course, my parents, hey, our daughter is flying out. So it was a tick to what I was doing.
Yeah.
Remember this time I've not told
them that.
Yes, what is happening really that now, number one is checked and I know this is my calling. Number two, the scholarship is not working. And number three, got confirmed through another couple that I know are solid. My parents have not given me the blessing. I've not even disclosed everything. Them, they just know I'm keeping busy in a clean way in church for a short time. Then I'll get a job. So when Swaziland came, my dad said, oh, that's excellent. It will give you so a first trip. So we go to Swaziland and we do this. And I told God, the last month I told God, now, me, I know and I know. And I'm loving what you've called me to do. And I can't lie to my dad. I need my parents' blessings. And even if I still need to tell them. So this is snail mail days and I'm praying, I'm scared. I'm scared of what my dad will say when I come back. But I know, even if he says no, me, I'm still moving on.
Yep.
And this time, Chap was asked, can you stay on for another 2 years? So
and now you're an employee.
Coming back, I'll come as an employee,
yes, as
but
an employee.
at church.
Yeah. And
my dad didn't want church stories. So the last week or 2 weeks before I came to Kenya, I just telling God, Sasa, if it goes south, it goes south. But you just help me. I get a letter from my brother, and he says, hey, you would not believe what happened. Some guys came to our house and shared about Jesus to Dad, and Dad surrendered his life to Jesus.
Wow.
And things are different here. I knew Jehovah. 2 weeks I landed, I went straight to Nakuru. I told my dad and mom, now, you people, this is what has been happening in the last 1 year. I didn't lie to you. This is what the internship was. It's true. But the bigger picture is God has called me to ministry. And I'm coming to tell you, I know it may be disappointing, all these dreams, everything, but me, this is it. And my dad told me, it took me all my life to make this decision. But you, since you made this decision to follow Christ in Form 6, you've never ashamed me, never disappointed me. So if God is calling you to do this, you have my blessings. If you need our help, you have my blessings. So me, by the time I came back to do pastor, I knew here. So I tell people in my time at chapel, I told God, I'm going to serve you like somebody looking in a microscope.